The Bolsheviks fought a civil war. Discuss this statement regarding the civil war that broke out in Russia post-October when the Bolsheviks came to power. When the Bolsheviks, and their color was red, ordered some changes in Russia, the army broke up and the peasants in the army went home for redistribution of land. The non-Bolshevik socialists, like the Mensheviks, and their color was green, and the supporters of Tsar, whose color was white, condemned the uprising. During 1918-1919, the socialist revolutionaries pro-Tsarists controlled most of Russia. They were helped by Americans, French, British and Japanese troops. So international interference was seen in Russia at this time, and these people supported the Tsar. They were capitalist societies and they were not in favor of Lenin and the Bolsheviks controlling Russia. As the civil war was fought, there was looting and famine became common. The Bolsheviks were able to control former Russian Empire due to the cooperation with non-Russian nationalities and the JuDevists. Eventually, to make peace with everyone, the Bolsheviks created the USSR, which is the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. And it was not called the Russian Empire anymore. It was called the USSR, which was formed in December 1922. It broke up very recently in 1991. Centralized planning led to economic growth. Discuss this in the context of the 5-year plans that were made by the Bolsheviks. A process of centralized planning was introduced. Official passed a law on making 5-year plans. It led to economic growth. The government fixed all prices to promote industrial growth. However, there were certain demerits, and these demerits were that the government did not straight away pay attention to the plight of the workers. They were still living in pathetic conditions. They were not given enough wages. Their working conditions were miserable. So over time, the government will try and remedy that. In spite of collectivization, production did not increase immediately. Discuss the firm emergency measures introduced by Stalin. Stalin took control of the Bolsheviks after Lenin, and he introduced collectivization. In spite of collectivization, production did not increase immediately. The government fixed prices at which the grain must be sold, but the peasants hoarded grains in hope that the price should rise. Stalin introduced firm emergency measures. He said that speculation had to be stopped and supplies would be confiscated. However, shortages continued. The collectivized farms were introduced so that peasants would not have small individual farms, but they could all work together on a larger farm. Also, on a large piece of land, it would be easy for the government to get use new technology to improve agriculture. But the workers were not very happy with the idea of collectivization. The peasants did not agree to such a scheme. Also, to add to that, there was bad harvest, which led to one of the worst famines, where 4 million people died. What was the global influence of the Russian Revolution? In many countries, communist parties were formed, like the Communist Party of Britain or the Labour Party. Many non-Russians from outside USSR participated in the Conference of the Peoples of the East and the Bolshevik-founded Comintern. So basically, there was a conference made for people from all over the world who supported socialism, and leaders of such parties could meet. By the time of the outbreak of the Second World War, the USSR had given socialism a global face and world stature. Yet, by the 1950s, it was acknowledged within the country that the style of government in the USSR was not keeping with the ideals of the revolution. So this means that socialism helped Russia, which was an agricultural economy, it helped Russia become one superpower, which during the Cold War era, after the Second World War, was the only country which could stand up against USA, which promoted capitalism. However, over time it was realized that the method through which Russia had risen to power was not very good, because people were denied their rights. They were forced to follow the ideas of the government, and if they did not, they were arrested, detained, exiled, sometimes even killed. By the end of the 20th century, the international reputation of USSR as a socialist country had declined, though it was recognized that socialist ideas were still enjoying respect amongst people. Like I've told you in theory, socialism is a fantastic idea. It works for the welfare of the people and the peasants. It aims to make the society a more egalitarian society. And also, although Russia faced so many problems, eventually realizing from its own mistakes, the Russian government made model housing quarters for the workers. It made schools and colleges where on a very low fees workers could get education. Hospitals were also made which could be accessible to the workers. And that is how the country progressed, and people did like socialism. But overall, it was understood that maybe socialism could take on a radical turn like it did in USSR, and it became a problem. However, socialist ideas went on to influence the world, and they are still relevant today. Thank you.